Hey everybody, Anthony here, FSU Off-Road. Welcome back to another video. Now that King of the Hammers is over and I'm not glued to the computer and TV watching that, it's time to get back in the garage and focus on the things that we need to do to get this thing ready for the upcoming race in Rush, Kentucky, or at Rush in Kentucky at the end of April. So let's get to it. All right, so like I said, I want to get this thing ready to race this season, and Rush is just about 8-10 weeks away. I haven't really done the calculations on it, but regardless, it'll be here before we know it, and I have a list that I've knocked out, and this list consists of about 70 things to get this thing completely race ready. What I really need to focus on is getting this thing drivable. That way I can take it out a couple times before we go over in Kentucky and race it for the first time. So what I'm going to focus this video on is getting the things that I have accessible here. I've got a lot of stuff on order. A lot of stuff will be here in the next couple weeks, which is really good. But in order to eliminate any delays, I'm going to continue to push through with the stuff that I have. And what I have is, coolers for the transmission, yokes and stuff for the Dana 300, so we can get the drivetrain really nailed down and complete in this video. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we still have to do, but what I want to do is I want to finish getting this Dana 300 done, and the cable shifters will be here in the next couple of days so we can get those attached here. Also, I need to get our transmission shifter flipped because we have a reverse manual valve body in our transmission, so that way this current pattern here is not going to work. So we'll have to get that switched over, and then we can put our linkage in. That is actually the transmission linkage. I was just fitting it up for length purposes, but we got to get that done, and then we'll get our coolers and stuff, get those mounted up back here. As you can kind of see, I was just trying to figure out where they're going to sit. So I think that'll be a really good video, and hopefully we can get a bunch of this stuff knocked out today. Fingers crossed. Well, I got the back yoke installed and torqued to spec, and then I just built a little cover plate for the Speedo where the old Speedo went, because we don't need that. So I just built like a little aluminum plate to cover that, and just torqued it down to spec. I do got some shims there for the front output. I can get that finalized when we get this front yoke put on. The problem with the front yoke is the seals that I have are too small in OD. So I'm going to take this plate off, take it to the auto parts store real quick, see if we can find the seal. Hopefully we'll be able to get a seal today, get that popped in place. Put the seal in, probably just buy two, that way I have a spare, and then go ahead and put the front yoke in, get it installed. That way this transfer case will be all complete minus the vents and the shifters, obviously, and some fluid. Well, just got back from the parts store, and unfortunately they don't have a seal big enough, so I went ahead and took the plate off. That way I could bring it up there, and you can see the seal is just a little too big, or seal itself is actually just a little bit too small for the opening here. So what I'll do is I'll take some measurements. I'll get the inner diameter here and get the OD there and see if I can find something. Maybe get on the good old Amazons, see if I can get something here in the next day or so. If not, we'll try another Napa or something like that. But there's still plenty to do, so I'll put this stuff to the side, go ahead and finish taking out these drive shafts and stuff like that. That way I can get them loaded up in the future. That way I don't have to come back and do that. So I'm not worried about that. Maybe I'll start working on linkages or something else. I don't know. Now that we got the carrier bearing and the mid shaft and the drive shaft all out of the way, you can kind of see where our shift linkage will go. And right now it's in full park, but when I put this together, I wasn't 100% sure where we were going to put it, if I was going to put it to the inside, to the outside. Now I can have an opportunity to look at it because I wasn't really sure where our carrier bearing was going to sit. So now that we've got that there, I can get our cable here, and you can kind of see how this is just a easy, quick clip, quick disconnect for it. Makes it nice. And then these ridges right here will sit back here, and we just have to route it up to our cable shifter and get it in. And I'll probably flip this stuff around and get it connected. But this will give us an opportunity to put our reverse shift pattern on our shifters as well. So okay, on our winter shifter here, I went ahead and changed the faceplate. Standard is like, you know, normal is reverse, neutral, third, second, first. Because we have a manual valve body and we're rock crawling a lot, I wanted first and reverse be on the same gate, as you can see here. So we switched that out, no problems. Now we just got to get it fitted back up into the chassis there and attach our shifter that you can see behind there kind of running. But I also took the transfer case shifters out. That way we can get those fitted up, cut them a little bit shorter. That way everything is about the same length. That way it's all close and handheld. Wanted to show you what it was like whenever it was in here, in the center console here, with it hooked up so it kind of loops around underneath the transfer case and then goes to the transmission there. And I checked all the gears, and you can see there's a little bit of play there, and it's locked in park up there. We'll go to reverse, a little bit of play, it's pretty much centered where it needs to be, and it's in gear. So basically what I'm saying is I adjusted the cable linkage where it needs to be, and everything works according to where it should be. So now that everything is good to go with the cable shifters, the transmission, the last thing that we have to do for it is to get the coolers, well, the cooler ran to the coolant lines. So I think in order to do that, I might turn Tinkerita around. That way we'll have some, when we do run out of daylight, because it's going to happen, I'll have some light, a little bit of shop light to work on that.
One eternity later.
Got it moved around. Not an easy task whenever it's not under its own power, but we got it moved around. That way we can start working on the back side here where these coolers are going to go, and use the light that we have whenever it is dark outside. It's really hard to see back here, but these are the biggest trans coolers that I could get. These are Griffins, along with the radiator, all Griffin stuff. I just get it because it's local here in the Carolinas, not too far away, but this is about the only place we can put them. I've tried looking at other places, but unfortunately, it's going to be tight back here. We'll have to figure a mounting point up. I figure they'll be a little bit higher and more angled. As you can see, it's about the only place we got for them, which is fine. Then we can leave down here for tools, drive shaft, jack, things like that. I just want to make sure we have enough room, enough clearance with the tire here. This is a 37, and eventually, you know, trail tires will probably be 40s. So I want to be able to carry a 40 back here as well. So I've got to do some rigmarole in here and figure this out. After some brainstorming, I think I have an idea of how I'm going to connect this with this. It's a 1 1/4 120 wall tubing is just what I have over there, just an extra stick of it. So I'm just going to utilize that. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cap this off with a tab that hangs down, and then I'll also build a tab that is straight down here, and then I'll be able to put a bolt on the bottom side there, and I'll do the same thing on the top. That way I'll just have 2 anchor points at the top, because I'll have another tube going across the top that I bolt down, and then that have easy access. What I'll do is I can just leave those bolts where they are, undo the top 2 bolts, and then I'll be able to raise this up or lay it down or whatever I need to do to get access back there. So I'm going to work on getting that stuff fabbed up, designed, aka cardboard templates. But before we get into that, my seal came in, so I want to jump back on the transfer case and knock that stuff out, because I want to finish what we started. That way I can mark off more stuff here on our to-do list. Just a word of advice: when you figure out the seal that you need, this is going to work once we press it in. I've been taking all my boxes that I have of like all my seals and everything, and I've been putting them in a bigger box. That way you can see what all my spare stuff is. Now, do I know what they all are? No, but I can go back and see what they are. And then I've been keeping them, obviously trying to get duplicates of every seals, things like that. That way I will have spares, starting moving forward, and trying to start to gather more spares as we go. Now I'm going to get this pressed in, the front output housing here, get it bolted back up, put our yoke in, and get it all torqued to spec, and we can actually mark that off the list because that is on there. Now with the front completely assembled, everything's good, seal feels good. I went ahead and torqued everything down. So this is all complete now. The back shims are done. So the transfer case is done. All I got to do is just fill it up, attach the vent lines to our catch can, and obviously do our shifter cables up to our shifters whenever we get all that completed. But transmission, transfer case, all done. We just got to do the shifters, obviously fill them up with fluid and the coolers for the transmission, so we're making good progress. Speaking of the coolers, now I'm going to work on building these brackets and everything, get those knocked out, see if we can get some stuff kind of tacked in place, and then see what that has in store for us. Wanted to show you kind of what I was talking about as far as like a little tilt down thing. So as you can see here, we'll bolt this through, and then what it'll do is we'll have our plates throughout it to hold our coolers to, and then we'll have it secured at the tops and the corners. And then once it's all completed, we can just unsecure the 2 bolts at the top, and then we'll be able to pivot this down. And what I mean by pivot it, I'll be able to rock it out of the way like this. That way we can get the coolers to tilt back away, let it lean against the spare tire here, let it tilt back, and then we can get in behind here, check our filter, fans, what little bit of electrical we have back here, pickups, whatever we need to get to, we can do it. And worst case scenario, we can obviously take out those 2 bolts as well and remove the whole thing. It's been a few days, been working on this kind of off camera here, but you did see me in the last little clip get a few things cut out, kind of getting everything placed up. You can kind of see how this is going to work, bolted there. And then what I want to work on today, because now that it's the weekend and I have more time to focus on this, is I'm going to work on a mounting solution for here, and I got an idea of what I want to do there. So I'll get these mounted down, and then we'll get this nice and secure where it's going to be. And then the last thing that came in the mail is our cable shifters for our transfer case. Hopefully we can knock this out today, and we can knock that out today. That way we can kind of conclude this video, get it posted up for you guys, and then we can move on to something else. As you can see, we got our tabs in place and welded on our mount, as well as the chassis. Got them in both places, and then everything is tack welded in place. And what I want to do now, or what I need to do now, is I need to get our coolers on the mount and kind of drill some holes where they'll fit and get that centered up. That way I can put it on the chassis and make sure that there's still all the clearances that we need. Should have everything done. We've measured a bunch of times. Just got to make sure. Once I make sure everything's going to fit and get finalized, we'll go through, we'll weld everything up, even on the chassis. And before we start throwing a lot of sparks and stuff, I want to cover all the fuel and everything that way, just in case, just to be sure. So yeah, better safe than sorry. I'd hate to catch anything on fire at this point, especially that there is fuel in it. So, but yeah, we'll wait and do that at a later date. Right now it's just a matter of getting these mounts installed and in the chassis. That way we can route some lines and possibly do some shift cables. Alright, got the mount installed with the coolers, and there is tons of clearance. I'll show you guys, but I went ahead and put the tire carrier back on, make sure everything was going to work, kind of figuring out some lines and things like that. Should be good. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to jump to the other side here, up front, and work on our shifters. Like I said, there's plenty of room back here. As you see, we'll be able to bolt it down, secure these on both sides with a bolt, and then I'll just bolt, nut and bolt all these. I'll have to pick up some bolts, but on the back side here, we'll incorporate some rubber. That way it's not metal on aluminum on metal. That way that'll have some flexibility there. And as you can see, there's tons of clearance back here, which is exactly what I wanted. And yeah, it worked out great, and it's all straight, lined up. So now the next thing that we got to do is work on these shifters here. Went ahead and got them, so now it's time to get them ran, and then work on our actual shift lever itself. The levers are too long because, you know, with our winter shifters it's really short. I want to make them all the same length roughly, so we'll have to cut and make them a little bit smaller, but we should be able to get that. No big deal. Obviously shortened them up and then re-threaded. That way we could have our things here. I was just kind of fitting it up in here. See how it's going to work. It's going to work out great as far as like the overall like length and everything. I like how long they are. The only downside to this is now that we've bent both of them, I can't get them through here when it's together, so I'll have to build it while it's on the centerpiece. Not a huge ordeal, but it would have been nice not having to do that. So now I'm just going to focus on getting the cables, get them installed, get these installed, actually get it centered up in there. That way I can adjust them with the levers down there on the transfer case, and we'll be able to change some gears and also change the transfer case front and rear. So that's pretty cool. Excited to get this done and over with. Been working on it, and there you go. As you can see, got our shifters in there. The left one is going to be for our front. That way we can change the front, and then obviously the right one will be for the rear. Now I do need to make some adjustments here because that's engaged all the way down, and now I can't push this one all the way up because the transfer case doesn't allow it. But I need this to go, I don't want it to go down so far. I don't like that. I'd rather it be up a little bit. Move it forward up. Here, let me show you. So
that's how far up they'll go. And there's a little bit of clearance back there. When they do go all the way down, they go all the way down right here. So I kind of just need to adjust a couple points on my throws. That way we can get them fixed. The binds, they're a little tight, but they should be fine. I'm going to put this one underneath and then I'll zip tie it. That way it doesn't bind as bad. But they're also not tight either. I've just got them kind of hand tightened. So they'll straighten up. And for these, I had to notch them. I don't know if you can see that or not. But underneath, because I wanted to use these quick pins, like what they do is they clip over. You can remove them so I can easily disengage them really quick. I had to cut out the bottom parts of them on the bottom side because they were too thick. So that took a little bit of time, but we do have shifters now. I know I got a dirty face, but it's been a good day in the garage. Got our coolers done, installed, just got to finish welding them and paint. Got our shifters, all that installed. That means we can shift some gears and change some gears and do some front wheel digs. You know what I'm saying? But productive is what we wanted today. And we got things accomplished. That means I can mark some stuff off the list. Now, with that being said, I'm going to finish the video off here. I hope you guys like what you saw. Make sure you subscribe. If you've made it this far in the video, you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. It's free, and our channel is slowly growing, and I appreciate all you guys that do subscribe and watch the videos, and make sure you hit the thumbs up, and make sure you stay tuned because we still got a few more things to knock off the list. And when I say a few, I mean a few dozen. You know what I'm saying? Got some stuff to take care of. But we'll see you guys in the next one.